Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story TV and the Her Story podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Hi, my name is Tien, and I am 45 years old. And I'm here to share this story that this pivotal moment in my life happened when I was 40, about 5 years ago. I woke up every day for a period of time, dreading going into work, wondering if there was a better way, that this 9 to 5 hamster wheel of getting up, going to work, and then coming home and taking care of my family, and it goes on repeat. And it felt so burdensome. And it wasn't because I didn't love my family or that I didn't enjoy the career that I was in. It just felt heavy. And it was at that moment, and I remember asking my husband at that point, because he used to drive me to the train station. I remember asking my husband, and I would ask him the same question every day on the way to the train station. There has to be more to life than this. Why can't I seem to find what would light me up? Why can't I seem to be happy? Why can't I seem to find the motivation again? And it was this period of time that was so pivotal because I couldn't imagine continuing to ask these questions every single morning on the way to work. I couldn't imagine what my life would be like for another 30 to 40 years, feeling this way about every single morning, about every single day. Our life wasn't meant to be lived in a way where we could not look forward to the excitement and the adventures that the next day brought. And deep down within, I always knew that I wasn't being utilized to my fullest capacity. I always knew that I was very much underutilized. And at first I thought it was because other people were doing it to me, meaning my manager didn't see my value, or they weren't giving me, the choice projects at work. And so I blamed others often for this lack of fulfillment that I felt within my professional life that ultimately carried over into my personal life. Because despite what they say, as much as you're supposed to separate your personal and your professional life, it's very hard to do that. You're one person, and your energy can very much be influenced by work as well as, the things that are happening at home. So feeling this way, feeling this nagging feeling, this naggingness within me, that there had to be something better and that there was something better and more for me externally, I actually started looking. And I call it actually looking. It's reality. It was more like snooping. I started snooping around the internet, looking at other possibilities, having conversations with other coworkers / friends of mine at the office. And that's how I began to find a whole different level of spirituality that I had never known before. Even though I was a practicing Buddhist at the time, and so that in itself encompasses a heavy level of spirituality, what I hadn't realized was that there was another level of spirituality that was much more practical, that was much more realistic, that when I began integrating it into my life automatically, like it was almost instantaneous, where I began to see a bigger picture of where my life was meant to go, like a bigger purpose for the reason that I am here today. And this job that wasn't lighting me up, it didn't fill up my entire space anymore. It became more of a process, right? It's part of the process that I needed to go through in order to be able to get to the destination, which is not really at the end. That's not really where it was my career that was focused on, or the job at that time. That's not my destination. And what I realized was that the spirituality practice, it wasn't about anybody else. And that was such a pivotal moment in my life as well, because I realized at that point that I was blaming everybody else for the miseries that I felt, the frustration that I felt, for the way that they saw me, when in reality, it was everything that was within me that I was feeling about myself, and that my external world, my managers, my job, my circumstances at home, it was just merely a reflection of the energy that I was carrying within me. And when I say energy, I mean my emotions, my feelings, my thoughts, my judgments about myself that were being manifested or channeled onto other people. And so as I dug in more, what this level of spirituality actually showed me, and the practicalness of it, was that we all benefit from becoming more aware of ourselves, of the energy that we hold through our beliefs, through our actions, through our words. And when we start to be open to change, to making change in our lives, and to really focus on what it is that we want not what other people want of us, we then can reclaim so much of our own personal power, and things suddenly shift as if by magic for us. It's almost as if, it's almost as if you see in those movies, and I think Doctor Strange and the Marvel movies are a great example, where the reality that they see shift based off of, the magic, quote unquote, that they do. And we look at that and we're like, oh, that's so cool. And what's even cooler is that we're all magicians within ourselves, that we can also create the same shifts within us that will be reflected within our external world. And that's exactly what I've seen happen. And that experience, or these experiences where I've literally been able to change my external world, or the reflection of my external world, in a way that I never thought was possible, has been so exciting. It has me waking up with excitement to see what else is possible. It has me desiring more education, and not necessarily education through school, but more knowledge, more wisdom, more, it has, more curiosity has like pretty much sprouted from within. And it has really changed my life. And this is why I created the success method. And this is how I created the success method, because everything that I've learned, the thousands of dollars I've spent on personal coaching and personal development, what it's ultimately come down to, right, is that when we start to understand and accept who we are on the inside, we can then define what our success looks like. And until we do that, regardless of the material wealth that we accumulate, or regardless of the awards that we receive, whether it's at home or through your career or your job or whatever, that level of abundance that we're looking for, that level of success that we're seeking to experience, will never be enough. And so the success method that I've created is actually a process. It's a proprietary method. It's in the process of being trademarked as well. It is a step-by-step process that I work through with my clients that help them bring themselves back to their authentic selves, to help them and empower them to define what success means for them, so that they no longer act or replicate or feel the need to continue to chase success. Because once you can define success based off of your own desires, right, that what feels aligned for you, the success that comes will just come. It doesn't need to be controlled. It doesn't need to be chased. There's nothing that I think society tells us that we need to do that actually is required for us to be able to achieve the things that we're looking to achieve. Because if we're looking for it, it's looking for us in return. And it's just a matter of making sure that we know what to do with it once we get it. And it's so interesting too, because last night I was actually at an awards event. It wasn't for me, but it was an awards event that I was attending, and it was a beautiful event. And during the event, one of my colleagues and I had previously agreed that he would introduce me to his close friends who were in the media, and he didn't do that, right? So for whatever reason, he didn't. And in the past, before I started this journey, something like that would have really ticked me off. It would have made me angry. It would have made me feel so betrayed and so silly for trusting somebody, right? And it would have been, and I would have interpreted that as another piece of evidence, as another confirmation that people can't be trusted. But I wasn't angry last night. After the work that I'd done, after the creation of the success method, after going through that and working with my clients through that, I left that event so grateful for everything that has happened, for the stories that I had heard that night, for meeting the people that I have. And I wasn't angry. And I thought about it on my way home. And the reason I wasn't angry is because I knew that it wasn't the right time and that I will get access to, and I will have connections with the media people that I'm looking for in my career, and the other individuals, or reach the goals that I'm looking for when it's the right time for me. And for whatever reason, I wasn't ready now for it. And I trust with my whole heart that it was always working out for me. And it's so funny because when I first started this journey, I thought that was a whole bunch. I heard this from many coaches, and I thought that that was a whole bunch of cliched BS. Oh, yeah, it works for them, but that's just what they say. And oh, yeah, doesn't really work like that in real life. Like, if you want it, you have to control it. You have to do it yourself for it to be done correctly. You'd be angry because other people has betrayed you once again. But last night, it wasn't like that at all. And that's the beauty of it, is that when we have this definition of success, when we know that what is ours will never disappear, will never, not be ours, we know that everything happens for our benefit. And how do I know that? How is it that it's not delusional for me to think this way? Because if you look back at every single rejection or every single disappointment in your life, and you have that 2020 lens now that you're looking through, you can see how all of those disappointments or those rejections have actually just worked out for you in order for you to be in a better place. That maybe they weren't right for some reason. And yeah, maybe it would have been good or whatever, but what you have now is even better. And that's how I've been able to really, truly stay present in the moment, to really, truly enjoy the experiences that I have. And this is the beauty that I want to teach and that I want to show others, because we don't, from our perspective, as ambitious, successful women, we don't have to be everything that other people want us to be. We have the right to define that for ourselves. And when we do that, and when we can trust that that is really what will happen, we get to be full. That's where true abundance really comes in. And we no longer have to keep questioning ourselves and keep expending all this energy trying to do stuff that really isn't going to be productive for us. And so that is how I've created the success method. That is why I love it. That is why I love what I do, because women are finally able to take their power back, reclaim it, own it, and really stand confidently in front of others, knowing exactly who they are and never feeling lesser than because they're not who other people have told them to be.
Wow. It sounds to me like you have been on quite a journey of self-discovery.
It has been a very interesting journey for sure. Yes.
And a lot of people get caught or stuck on that treadmill of life, just going around like on a hamster wheel
Mm-hmm.
and not knowing how to get off. What I love about what you said is authenticity. Being truly your authentic self means you are not looking for validation from outside of yourself.
Yeah.
It means that you do have all of the answers to the issues you're going through right now. So, if I could take you back, let's imagine that time is an illusion and your past, your present, your future exist in the same timeline. And I'm going to take you back 5 years to when you were in the middle of that struggle, on that hamster wheel, knowing something was off and not happy. If there is a woman who's listening to us right now and is in exactly the same place, what three nuggets of wisdom can you share based on what you've learned to this point?
That's a really great question, Gertrude. So let's see. The first one is taking a step back. I think so often we get so caught up in the emotions of it all. And we get so focused on everything that makes us unhappy, which usually is all of the failures, all of the mistakes, all of the emptiness that we haven't filled yet, right? The things that we haven't achieved yet. So the best way to do to stop that feeling and to stop allowing for those emotions to get carried away is to literally pause it and taking a step back. And then number two is that authenticity really requires us as individuals to look within ourselves. And it sounds so cliche, and it's a much more complex process than it sounds too, because I think sometimes people say, yeah, I look within myself and I know myself, but the process is so detailed that the things that we take for granted, the thoughts that we have that just run on automatic, those are the things that we need to start to review again. And things that we believe about ourselves that we look at and the things that we are pursuing within our lives, right? This concept, let's just say, for example, this concept that women have to be um, married and pregnant, at least within my culture, women have to be married and pregnant with, by the time they're 30s. And, if not, there's something wrong with them, or they may have difficulties having babies. All of these ideas are just ideas and stories that have been handed down to them, either from their own personal observations of the people around them, or from society, or cultural. And so the things that we take for granted as truth have to be reevaluated again. And what then is there is that we then have to take a look to see what are we willing to adopt as our own. And it's okay that we believe in the same thing that our society believes. It's okay that we believe in the same thing that, our culture has taught us. But we have to consciously and intentionally make that decision and choose that that's what we're going to own. And then we move forward with it.
You're so right about the pressures women are under in terms of what society expects. Those milestones that by the time you're 30, you should be married, you should have children, you should. But it's actually up to each individual woman to harness that and create what they want. And what I love about your process, somebody said to me yesterday, I was doing another interview and I asked her, how do you find happiness? What is happiness?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you can't find happiness, but you can create it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's
So a lot
amazing.
of times we're looking outside of ourselves for all of these answers,
Mm-hmm.
and yet the answers are really within. And you can create
Absolutely.
what you want. You can create your own future, but women are struggling to do this. Now, I come from a very restrictive culture, uh, which I take you do as well.
Very much so, yes.
And I have always lived outside of the box, and it has caused a lot of trouble and strife because of it with family. So, if there is a young woman who is listening to us right now and is in that position where the pressures from family, society, culture are just overwhelming, what advice would you give to navigate out of that space?
I that is such a good question. So I would say practically, it's okay to distance yourself from that physically. You know, whether that's temporary or permanent, that's up to the individual, right? And what they're comfortable doing. But I would say even just a few weeks of time that they can distance themselves from these expectations so that they can use that period of time intentionally and, um, basically intentionally and diligently so that they can really look at, okay, so my parents are really focused on me getting married and my and having kids, or that I need to go in to become a doctor or a lawyer, and but I don't know if this is what I want. But that's okay. It's okay not to know what you want. We have people that are adults in their 40s and 50s and 60s that still don't know what they want, and that's men and women. I think it's just part of life. And I think that the advantage to looking at it when you're younger is that you are actually further ahead than the adults that I've actually just mentioned, right? Who haven't ever looked at it, because you're actually taking this time now to look at it so that the next step that you take is actually an aligned step rather than something that you're just kind of following along because that's what society's pushing you to do.
I love that. And a beautiful way to end our interview. So, my last question is there anything I should have asked you and I didn't?
No, you were amazing, Gertrude. There is one thing that I do want to share, if that's okay. I
Mhm.
think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, because this was something related to what you asked earlier, which is, give us the three nuggets. I think one of the key points too is that society and Disney and whatever else, right? We're meant to be damsels in distress and wait for our prince in shining armor and on their coming on their white horse to save us from the misery that we feel, and that's what'll make us happy. One thing I learned, and it's something that I think is so powerful for women to take away, is that we are the only ones that can save us. Nobody else can save us. And if we take that step, even if it's to start the way I did it, which is like snooping around to find different things and different options out there, take that next step. Don't wait for somebody to come and hand it to you, because they won't. And even if
Yeah.
they do, it might not work for you. So
Yes.
save yourself. Save yourself.
You're your own hero.
Yes, exactly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jean. It was
Thanks, Gertrude.
awesome connecting with you. I'll be in touch with you with regards to the reality TV show and give
Oh,
you more
amazing.
information.
Yes.
But thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story movement is attracting some phenomenal women with amazing, empowering ideas so you can step into your own and be and live your authentic self. So, this was a beautiful way to start our morning. Have a fantastic day or evening wherever you are in the world. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. And Jean, thanks again for the interview.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye for now, everybody.
Bye.